Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name's Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. How you doing, mate?
Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you. And today we're joined by Darren. How you going, mate?
Hello, mate. How you getting on?
Good. This podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. For a small monthly fee, you'll unlock powerful features like secure, effortless access to your system from anywhere, your choice of voice assistants, offsite backups, and more, all configurable in the UI with no YAML needed. It also supports the development of Home Assistant, ESPHome, and other Open Home Foundation projects. Click the link in the description to learn more. We'd also like to give a shout out to our Patreon members, including our executive producers, Benny and Rob. You can help support the show and get early access to episodes, all in an ad-free feed. To support the show, check out homeassistant.fm and click Patreon in the menu. And a shout out to our sponsor today, Notion, which we'll have a few more notes for later in the episode. But Darren, I want to start talking to you now. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is sort of a first episode going a bit deeper behind the Open Home. I'm calling it sort of inside the Open Home. So Darren, you work for the Open Home Foundation. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got working with the Open Home Foundation?
Yeah, so I am the website developer for the Open Home Foundation. I originally started with Nabukasa before the split, and I joined because I wanted to get in at the Home Assistant, in working for what I was thinking a Home Assistant, but obviously Nabukasa. As a web developer, because there wasn't one currently and I saw one pop up. So I'm responsible for making sure that all websites are running well. That's quite easy to do because it runs on Netlify, so they're quite good. But every blog you see go out, I have to publish that out. Any bugs on websites that you see, I try and fix as quickly as I can. And then any new website we make for the marketing in terms of products or like the new community pages, I put those together as quickly as I can. That's what I do.
Nice. So there's obviously like a fair few different styles to the website. Like the Home Assistant has its own style, Nabukasa, then the corporate side has its own website. Are you responsible for all of those different moving parts?
So, for example, like the Home Assistant website, the homepage is like the home of like the front page of Home Assistant, but a lot of people, even like a lot of the community as well, manage that sort of things in terms of maintaining the content, because there are a lot of passionate people that, like, imagine if we had a few people inside the company to do that, like to have the knowledge to do all that is insane. I don't think we could do it. So that's why the community is so powerful. If there are bugs, I will go and fix them. But in terms of managing content, there are so many more people that are passionate about that inside and outside the community that manage that. So them sort of things I don't tend to get my feet too close to. All the new sites you see that are brand new, for example, when we release new products like the ZWA2 we just recently released, that gets designed by our designer, Clelia. And then I work with her to kind of bring that into web and then do my bit. The Open Home Foundation, I have like full sight of, and all of this, like the little projects as well. Well, I say that ESPHome, even though it's under our domain, the ESPHome guys take care of that. But I'm free to step in and say, like, okay, let's if I wanted to, I could go and say, let's modernize this, let's modernize that. They recently converted it from an RST-based content system, I can't remember what the framework was, to now it's Hugo. So now things Markdown, which is really nice. It's easier for people to edit stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that's under my umbrella. I don't always manage it all because there are people just doing it anyway. But I'm here to like give my attention to things that might need to happen. For example, bugs or like modernizations. Like next year, I want to tackle Home Assistant, the actual website itself. That includes all documentation, everything, to try and make it a bit more purposeful and modernized. But that's a big project I'm not currently trying to think about.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
It's a big one.
But I do like that. So, and you just touched on it there. Like a lot of people, may not realize that Home Assistant is an open source project, and the primary core product of Home Assistant, the core project, is written in Python. But there's a whole bunch of other things around Home Assistant that if you're not a Python developer, you could potentially help out with, right? Like you can contribute documentation by opening a pull request on GitHub and editing Markdown files. You can, write other, supporting documentation. You can even contribute on the forums, right? There are a whole bunch of ways that, you can reach out and contribute back if you can't do development.
You don't need to be a developer. You don't need, you can be a developer. It's not just Python, it's JavaScript. Most of our Home Assistant front end is built on JavaScript or TypeScript. It's a good barrier, or quite a good barrier for entry if people are trying to get into things. But let alone that, you don't have to know a lot about programming, for example, but you could be just contribute your knowledge, for example. So you can write, update some documentation, you can write guides, you can participate just in the forums in general, your experience with something, because you never know who's Googling, I've got this thing and it's broken, and just you giving your experience, and you never know who will reply. I had this experience, I fixed it by doing this, and then one day someone will stumble upon that, and then it will help a lot of people out. So there are so many ways people think of community being I have to contribute code, and it's not about that. It's about just being involved in any way, shape, or form. Even translations as well. People, when we do the whole voice assistant stuff, there's a lot of people that need to work on all the different various languages and sentence structures. And yeah, thank God there are people out there that are motivated enough to donate their time to maintain this stuff. And it's what makes it as powerful as it is now, because I wouldn't, yeah, I don't know. It's just another world, really.
It is, yeah. There's so many moving parts to it, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys I know you're talking about translations and stuff like that. Have you guys looked at doing any kind of automated translations, or leveraging AI to do those kind of things on the website, or any of that, or is it just too unknown?
I think I'm sure there is a way we can do it with AI, right? I'd be scared to do AI translations, because AI loves to try and organize content and reword things.
Yeah.
No matter sometimes no matter how hard I try to do a task, do not modify the content. It loves to reword things. Especially translating it into another language. It means that I don't feel comfortable enough for AI to translate this without modifying content in the new language, because I wouldn't be able to understand it. Yeah. So I would have to get a second opinion, and then I might as well just hire someone to do that anyway,
at
right?
That point. Yeah.
We've never really had a problem. I say this, but I can't really think we've had a massive problem with translations of people can't understand documentation. But that could be that it could be a better way of explaining it in English to make it more appropriate for other people in other languages. I can't say I'm not always in the deep end of writing content and documentation for these things. Gabriella, who works with us, she does a lot of documentation writing. She writes all the support articles as well. She would be a better person to ask about this, but yeah, it's an area I'd love to cover, but it's an area that will take a lot of maintenance to keep up to date, especially with okay, releasing this thing. Okay, have we got it in German, French? How much more time will that take? Can we rely on AI for this? One day, sure, but I'm not too sure. It'd be nice to do it though.
Yeah. It's and I suspected that's where kind of you were going to go down, right? It's just it's way too unpredictable. I have no idea, and which is why I asked, right? I'm is there something you guys know that we don't know that?
It's just a hard world. We've in my previous company, I worked for an agency. I was just thinking if I could say this, I can. We worked for Reuters, so we were I'm sure you've heard of Reuters, the global reporting company, and we did their corporate site, and they had a number of, and just like other clients we had actually, just regardless of them, when you want to say we want a multilingual site, well, it's all well and good, but we need someone to actually do translations, and the site. There are so many different pieces of content. Okay, so what happens when you go to the French version of the site? Do we show only the French stuff? What about the stuff that hasn't been translated? So do we show the English version of that stuff that hasn't been translated yet? Or do we show... Because then if you show the website without English stuff for the French side, then you're going to have an empty website. and it's going to look like the website's not full and content rich. But if you look at the English one, it's full. Like it's just Home Assistant IO. But if you go to the German one, for example, well, we only have like a handful of translations. So like, what do we only show those ones? And then the website looks empty. Then we get a bad impression. Like you have to either cover it or like, yeah, it's multilingual site stuff is a really hard thing to do. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. No, I completely see that. There's it's interesting because I didn't think about the decisions too, right? It's like, okay, if I did French, then am I adding English in here or whatever? So that's
if you've done 5 articles, you've got 100. So do you just show the 5, or do you show the 5 plus the 95? You know, then people complain about, oh, not all of them are translated. So if you don't show them all, why are there only 5? You know, it's a hard one to win.
You can't please everybody too, right? And it's unfortunately, both sides are valid. Like I get the, hey, you did these 5, why didn't you do these other 95? Or I see both sides of it.
Yeah, I think what you'd find, I guess what people do find out, because obviously not everyone who speaks French can understand English. So there are probably extensions, or like Google Translate does a lot of stuff on web pages now where it just translates them. I think them solutions are better rather than every individual person who has a website worries about that. I think a translation service is probably more appropriate to translate from the well-known English language to their language, especially if it's like an open source crowdsourced one. Like, oh, this sentence doesn't work in my language. Like, I don't know if that exists because I don't speak any other languages, but yeah,
that's interesting.
So can you tell me, what is your day-to-day life like working at the Open Home Foundation? I know, it's a typical 9 to 5 role. Do you have to shift for time zones because you're all remote first? Like, how does working at the Open Home Foundation work?
Weird. It's weird working here because it doesn't feel quite like a job in a sense, because this is my first job being completely flexible working and completely work from home. My old job was 9 to 5, come to the office once a week, blah, blah, blah. This is like, you have to work 40 hours a week. If you can make your meetings, great. But otherwise, work whenever fits around you. And my day-to-day is like going through and seeing if there are any upcoming blogs I need to post out, making sure any upcoming projects are taken care of. Like, we've got a few things coming up that I need to make sure that I hit the deadline for. And I'm always syncing with our internal marketing team to make sure like the design is ready, the content is ready, and basically it's a constant like making sure everything's going in the right direction. So then when I get a design for a website, or I need to like do my bit, everything's there ready, so I can then work, go focus mode, and then I get like, it's quite like a relaxed role until it becomes production time, and it's like, okay, now I need to do my bit, and it's like, then it's heavy for 2, 3, 4 weeks like making the website, or then making sure the deployment of our new documentation goes out, make sure everything works. And then live stream day comes along, we've got a new product, ZWA2, I've got to press the button on, create all the pull requests, deploy them, something's gone wrong, fix it at like 11 p.m. or something. It's the one, that's that one day on the release day. It's like things can go wrong, but touch wood, things have gone a lot right since we moved to Zendesk as well, doing like documentation stuff. That's been really nice. But no, it is weird because when you work for a UK company, UK companies don't like to trust people too much because they like to slack off, or like they don't trust flexible working. Like my old job didn't like flexible working at all. But to come here and say we're a flexible working company, and in the handbook it kind of gives you like some outlines of like how this works. And I remember coming from quite a toxic previous company. Flexible working can be dangerous. And I was like, okay, they're going to tell us like, make sure you log your hours, and it's like people find it hard to stop working. So, and it was like a bullet point list, and it's still there today. It's probably like 10 bullet points. Make sure you have time for friends, go for extended lunches. And it's like all the reasons you should make sure you take time for that work-life balance to make sure your life is way more comfortable than you stressing at work. And it's even though we've grown so much, like massively in the last year I've been here, that culture still exists and it's massive. Like I could come up tomorrow and say like, I'm really not feeling great. I'm going to come back tomorrow. Like, you can't do that in the UK. You can't do that for companies like normally because like, why? It fosters such a negative culture if you do stuff like that. Here, it's like, I feel like I can come back tomorrow. No one's looking over my shoulder, and like,
it's sort of like you're being treated as an adult now, not a child that can't trust.
I was just going to say, it's like if you treat people with respect, you actually can get productivity out of people, right? And it's like, and people
I felt the most productive that I have in a long time.
Yeah, and you want to excel at your job because you're like, hey, everybody's so kind here. Everybody's like, it's,
honestly,
you're part of the mission, right? And
I remember meeting them all for the first time in person when we went to our Open Home Foundation Summit in Dublin, and it was crazy to see all these people like you just like a lot. They're not colleagues. They go beyond colleagues because, as I've said, I was using Home Assistant in 2016. Like, I knew of Paulus quite a long time ago, and you know the various names like Frenck and Yoast and to then like have them in the back of my mind whilst I'm doing this hobby, to then working with them. It's like I kind of know them. To meet up with them, it's like, am I fanboying or am I just it's like to see them? I remember like having the call with Paulus when I was getting off the job, and Paulus wanted to speak to me before I got offered the job, and I was like, I had to kind of talk to myself a bit. I'm going to speak to Paulus. I need to be professional. Like, you know, like I'm coming for a job, not it's not a meetup. It's not a community thing. It's a proper event. Right? It's not. This is a proper professional call, right? But it was a proper like surreal moment to work for something you've had such a fond, something you love so much, I guess. To work for that company. It's
and
really
I guess
nice.
like you're going from like hanging out on Discord and like talking hacking this or hacking that and memes
watching all the release
everywhere.
notes and watching all the live streams, and then be in internal calls with them and hang out with them in person and talk about like the future of how we want to do things. Like being part of that mission as well is incredible.
That's cool.
It's quite nice actually. There are a few things like key decisions you make. You're like, I might have said something that might shape the way this happens in the future. Like, I'm responsible for this now, and I'm like, that's a cool thing to have. Hopefully, it's nice, especially if the company you admire have such a nice culture. It makes it so much easier to work for.
For sure.
What would you say is your vision or your understanding of the open home? Like, where would you like to see the open home mission go to next?
It needs to be put in front of like, okay, so we're doing this anyway. Like, we're trying to make Home Assistant more the barrier for entry lower. We're working on improving our onboarding experience. We're trying to make for consumers, people can go and grab a Google Home, or they can go grab even, for example, other ready-made like solutions and like start their home automation journey. I think the problem at the moment is Home Assistant is still quite techie. If I try to get my parents into this, like, I can't guarantee there aren't going to be like there's some quirks of Zigbee or something like that. And that's just a protocol. I'm just saying that's just a protocol. Sometimes Zigbee can be Zigbee. But like, I think trying to get it in front of other people to say, like, for example, my parents, my dad has a Google Home around the house. To be fair, I put them in because I was a Google Home fanboy when I was a bit younger. But he's like, oh, guess what I can do? And he's like, okay, G, turn on these lights. I'm like, cool. Can I see these smart switches you've got? And they were like Chinese, whatever. I was like, they take like 5 seconds to turn on because they're like contacting a server in China, right? And he's like, I don't care. Like, they turn the lights on. I'm like, there's two different mindsets, and people don't really understand that although these are just switches, when you then change it to a camera, like, then, okay, people usually go to Ring, for example, for a doorbell camera or something. But like, I need a cheap internal camera to watch my new puppy, for example. Like, so my dad might go and go on Amazon, find the first one that has a fake Home Assistant badge on it. That's then this cloud-based Chinese camera that probably record. But then again, would he still feel comfortable knowing that could be one vulnerable or even be recorded without consent? You just don't know. But people just don't care about their privacy. That's the biggest shock that is. I just don't get. I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've had that same conversation with my parents, but somehow they accidentally picked for their cameras. They accidentally picked like local ones, and that was completely per chance. But my parents still do have, to your point, a couple of Ring cameras and a couple of those kind of things around the house, and the mindset is always comes back to, well, who wants to do this to us? It's like we're not like heads of state, or we're not like actors and actresses or whatever, right? We're just a couple of random average people living our lives, right? And it's like, well, it's not about that, right? It's there are a lot of people that do that kind of stuff and open it up, whatever. But it comes down to, it's just a mindset, right? And unfortunately, maybe it's just working in this space is just makes us a little more jaded because we see a lot more. But I like the optimistic view. I like the the pragmatism almost, if you want. But I don't think it's. I completely agree with you, Darren. Like I think that's it's like, hey, it's not about this. It's about like there's a lot more than this, right? And
it's not about your privacy. It's about like how many other people have bought this product and their privacy. Like, and then what if there's a data breach? What if, like, you've heard of the Discord thing going on recently, right? Like people sending Discord got hacked recently. Their Zendesk got hacked. Like,
I heard,
and the hacker actually has, because he contacted a popular YouTube Discord kind of guy who likes Discord and does loads of coverage. And the hacker spoke to him directly reached out to him and said, like, Discord aren't doing anything about this, but they don't realize that on their support thing, they've got because people who are 13, 14 have to prove their age and send stuff like pictures, or you don't realize how much information is on there. Like, it's not about, oh, I haven't put things on Zendesk support. It's like there are people out there have under 16s, their pictures are there, or there's loads of government IDs on there. It's it's not about you. It's about what could be the problem if all of this was hacked or released or had a vulnerability. Try and think of a bigger picture here, because it's you're the individual and it's really not, you're not a target. It's more of the collective is the problem.
Well, I also look at it as, to your point about IDs being on servers and stuff like that, right? And it's like, okay, well, if that gets breached, I'm thinking doomsday scenario here is what happens, and this is what I tell my parents too. It's what happens when somebody goes out and takes a mortgage under your name that you're now on the hook for $1 million.
Yep.
Right? It's it's all fun and games until something serious like that happens, and then that's it. That's your retirement. That's your you're done, right?
Yeah,
and it's
I mean, AI is not
because
making that any hard, any easier, really. It's just elevating the problem more. The whole thing in the UK now, where they're cracking down on adult content with verifying your ID. You have to upload your ID to look at even some posts on Reddit, the Tame. But there are these providers that have popped out. I've never heard of this before. I've never heard okay, the UK is enforcing this thing where you have to prove your age to look at more mature content online. Cool, fine. But when you go to it, you get the pop-up saying you need to prove your ID. But I've heard of these 3 companies that seem to be de facto. I've never heard of them before, but we all trust them to give them IDs.
Yeah.
It just takes one guy at these companies to accept some sort of ransom to let them access their account. This is how Discord got hacked. They paid a support agent at Discord $500 to get access to his Zendesk, and he's like, okay,
wow,
$500.
Yeah, and the ransom, I believe, the ransom that the hacker gave to Discord was $5 million. But $500 is all it took for that guy to go, yeah, I'll give you my password. Like,
What?
mate, you'd have to pay me a lot more than that. And even then, I wouldn't even think about it. Although, to
When
be
you
honest,
said 500, I thought you were going to say like 500 grand. And I was like, okay, that's a good starting
no.
point.
$500 just hand over the username password to then do like a dump of all their Zendesk stuff to then, like stupid easy, really. Humans are the weakest point of security. And so, like, all these companies that are collecting IDs now, like, there must be millions of passports and driver licenses going around now. It's a bit worrying how much data is flowing about. Like it's like passkeys, right? The passkeys and paying on your phone. It needs to be that you have, and the UK are pushing this as well. Actually, they're trying to do digital IDs, so on-device IDs, and I think that is better than uploading your ID. So you have like you verify your ID on your phone, and then your phone has like an encrypted handshake where it can then tell websites, yes, this person is, it's just an exchange of yes, no. Just like passkeys, like it's you have to use your phone as your passkey or use your phone to pay with. It's not actually exchanging numbers or data. It's just saying this person is fine, let them through, rather than here's a photo of my ID which someone can copy and forge. Like it's crazy.
Well, it's funny. Signatures are still used today, right? And it's like signatures are just like it's me writing my name, but different.
It's and like if I broke my arm and tried to make a signature and it was all wrong, like it's still me. I just had a broken arm. So like, what if someone else did it and said that was me with a broken arm? Like, who the hell's to say that?
It's for the longest time because I've always thought signatures are the stupidest thing.
They are.
And so I just started like doing random things. I think at one point I drew like a smiley face. I've drawn like a cat. Like it's just and it goes through every time. I'm like, see, like
so your signature says, I do not approve this transaction. That should be your signature. I do not approve this transaction.
just draw a line, right? Scratch the whole thing. It'll go through because it is the worst form of authentication I think I've ever seen in my life.
But it'll get pretty long. I mean, I'm sure it's used for like something back in the day, but nowadays it's silly.
Who at a credit card company is sitting there being like, oh, there's $1.75 transaction. Let me compare this signature I have on file. Like, no one's doing that. Come on.
No. Right? No. Like, actually, you say that's I completely shot myself in the foot with this. Actually, I was just telling Phil before we started here. I bought a new car from Japan. Got it imported from Japan. Took 3.5 months. The way I found this guy was online. He had good reviews, so I trusted him. And so he deals on WhatsApp solely. And so he said, "Oh, what specs you want?" And he said, once we had the car sorted, I paid for it. So one thing, I paid a random guy like 13 grand for the car. Like I've definitely checked him out. I've checked his government like tax filings. He's fine. He's definitely fine. And he's like, okay, so when we register the car, I'm going to register under your name when the MOT passes. I'm like, cool. Can you please send me your driver's license and passport? I'm like, that's weird. And I don't like doing that. Like I said, is there any other way we can do it? And I think I sent it to him via something else in the end, something more secure so I can delete it afterwards. I'm like, just don't like the idea of me sending a picture of my on WhatsApp just floating there. Like it's just a bit weird. Like, but that's how most things happen. People don't really think of like what happens if this gets out, like.
Yeah. And then I'm sure like he's also uploaded your ID to somewhere else, right? And then what's that system that's
soon as I like got the car, or like a few days later, I got a letter in the post, and it was from the DVLA, the governing body for cars in the UK. Attached was this sheet saying, "Oh, your car's registered." I flipped it over, and there was like a scan, like my scan of my passport and my driver's license, like just there. I was like, "Oh well, I guess he used it for something." Like now it's just floating in the post somewhere. Like if that letter got stolen, they could probably like have my car like taken away because they've got my passport, my license, the registration, the VIN. Like that piece of paper, you could probably do a bit of damage with this piece of paper.
100%.
Anyway,
it's that is your vehicle for all
my vehicle, and
purposes.
Yeah.
Wow, we've gotten so far off task, but I'll finish with this. There's an article floating out there from, I think it's from the New Yorker, and they talk about I want to say it's Estonia, that how they've just basically done everything, like everything, your entire identity is on the blockchain,
Okay.
except it's all
Really?
encrypted, whatever, and you control it. And you've got like this little like card. You go to the hospital, and it's on there, and you own your data. You own everything.
What if someone
And
steals your card?
I think it's encrypted, but I don't know. I'm assuming there's some kind of password to
Yeah,
like
for
private
sure.
key to decrypt it. But yeah, like, so, if you're in an ambulance, you control what data they see, uh, that kind of thing, right? And it's like, the
Interesting.
doctors, they can write to it, but then one, you can see what they've written, and two
Yeah.
is you can control who sees that data. Right. So it's
Interesting.
like you get pulled over. Well, they don't need to see your medical records. They can just see your driving records, right? As an example, or whatever. So
Hmm.
it's a cool concept. Again, I don't know the implications of it and stuff like that, but please don't send me conspiracy theories. But
I say the blockchain has a bad rap as it is, like with all the crypto scams, but like,
but
Yeah.
but this is an actual like application of blockchain,
yeah,
right? Which I thought was a very, and this isn't new. This has been out for like a while. I think I read this article, God, like 8 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that, right? And so it's not brand new or anything like that. So it's kind of cool.
apparently it's called the
But I
KSI blockchain.
digress. Yeah,
I'm going to read up about this because this is interesting.
yeah. I
Well,
want to say it's Estonia, but
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
yeah. Well, if you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Zeus have just released their brand new Z-Wave long-range siren and chime, the ZSE 5800LR, which you might remember Agnes teasing when she was here a few months ago. You can trigger audio and visual LED alarms based on smart sensors or other conditions, and the audio speaker plays your own files for personalized automation. Or there's a selection in a preloaded library. Zeus are an official Works with Home Assistant partner, helping Nabukasa by providing long-range devices for testing the new Home Assistant Connect ZWA2 radio. Zeus offer a range of affordable and innovative devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, smart plugs, and scene controllers. Their new Zen 78 high power relay allows you to control and monitor higher load appliances up to 40 amps, which is perfect for pool pumps, air compressors, and other high power outlets. For the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com.
perfect. So speaking of the smartest house, Darren, let's talk about your smart home here. So what I know you mentioned you've been using Home Assistant since 2016. I think you mentioned.
Yeah, I was living with my parents then.
As long as me, like I think that's when I first started Home Assistant as well. So yeah, like what was like zero something, surely, right? Like 0 point something you would have started on.
It was when I was like, do I use Node-RED or Home Assistant? Like,
Yeah.
it
Right.
was super unstable. Every update broke everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had like a few Google Homes, and I bought Philips Hue bulbs so I can mess around with them. And that was when I was living still with my parents. Yeah, it was super early, really super early. I don't know why I got into it, to be honest. I think because I don't know really.
They're like, hey,
If
this
only
is
if
something
only I knew
shiny and
what
it's
I would
free.
have become. If only I knew what I
Yeah.
would have become. I'll be working for the project itself. It's wild, really. 10 years ago, nearly
That's
insane.
so funny.
But then when I moved out, I did quite a lot of tinkering. Like I made the smart home was like completely user unfriendly. Like replacing, like taping off. We don't use a switch because if you press the switch after 9 on a Sunday on the first Monday after the first Monday of the month, it won't do anything. It's like super unreliable. And I learned a lot. I was tinkering, and then in this house, because we moved again to this house, my second house, I've tried to, as everyone I think tries to do, make the smart home as invisible as possible, but also as user friendly as possible. So dimmer switches still act like normal dimmer switches, and everything's just a convenience rather than a complete replacement of like functionality. And that's what I strive to do anyway.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's funny because anytime we have anybody on the podcast that's used it for this long, it's like, it's like, okay, you've been through the trials
curve,
and
right?
tribulations of
Yeah.
exactly, of Home Assistant, right? And it's like, to your point, it was running on virtual environment, like it's running on VN, and like, anytime you have to do an update, and I absolutely hated doing the updates through there or anything like that, right? Which is why the second the container moved out, I was like, yep, I came out, I moved to the containers, because I just despised that whole process. And then if you had an issue, you had to post on Gitter,
Oh yeah.
which
That's right. Yeah. That was
I
before
I'm not a huge
Discord.
fan of Discord, but Gitter was far worse.
When did Discord
And
come out?
oh god, I don't know. When did Discord come out? Not that long. No, it's been a while. But Discord went through a couple of iterations, and then I think once Missy came in, she kind of cleaned it up and like, okay, let's put proper categories around stuff and whatever. Yeah, because Gitter, I remember it was just a giant chat room at the time, and I don't know if it's changed at all, but
I think it was just
you
one,
ask
or at least for the Home Assistant project, I think it was
Is
just
this
one room.
IRC or something?
kind of, there's no like channels or rooms or anything. Or there's channels, but it's like you're in the Home Assistant channel.
Oh right.
It's basically
like a
based
topic.
on a Git repo. You get
Okay. Nice. That's cool.
a chat
Yeah,
room.
but you can't. Yeah, exactly. It actually ties to you. You sign in with your GitHub account and like stuff like that, right? It ties to GitHub, but again, there's no idea of different rooms within there or anything like that. So it's like, if you have a question about the podcast, or you have a question about Z-Wave, or you have a question about whatever, you're asking in there, and it's just a flood of stuff, right? And it's like, and hopefully someone caught that you asked a question
Yeah.
here and
Yeah.
answered. But then there's all these people being like, hey, I never got my question answered, so let me ask again. And it's it's like doubly contributing to the
Stop spamming.
crazy amount of it's so for those of you that are like, well, this is complicated, trust me, it's come a very long way.
Like it's like now we've got like automated backups, we've got backups before updates, automated updates, we've got like you can update Zigbee devices firmware through Home Assistant. Like it's super smooth now. Like before it was a mess, dude. But like you had to go through those times to get to where we are now. Like if we didn't have all those problems, we wouldn't have made what it is now. And
well, you had to start somewhere too, right?
Yeah. And it's just a testament to how like passionate people are, especially in the community, to get these things working. But yeah, it's completely stable now.
Wouldn't say completely, but yeah, stable.
It's yeah. Well, I was gonna say, how are you finding it in your smart home now, Darren? Like with all the stuff you're doing. I know you said you moved at some point to the second home.
Yeah, so I run it on a Pi 5, so I don't use a green. I use a green more to show people like, oh, this is the green. I use it as like a physical, like, oh, this is runs fine. I have a server behind me, which is behind the 3D printer, which runs Frigate and stuff. Frigate has been like a massive game changer in terms of like how because before Frigate I was using ZoneMinder.
Okay, yeah, ZoneMinder, yeah.
Is that right? God,
yeah.
That was terrible. I mean, reliability was terrible. Like I couldn't get it working at all reliably. Then I moved to running Blue Iris in a VM. That was better.
Yeah.
And then Frigate is like what controls some of my automations now, because it has the Coral TPU. So if I've got a camera in the garage, and as soon as I walk in the garage, it turns my Zigbee light on if there's a person in that place. That's how I control my light in the garage. Like I don't have to, because the light switch is on the other side of the garage. You go in the door, have to walk over to get the light switch. But if you stand there, like if the door opens, there's a door sensor. If you open the door, the light always comes on after sunset. And as long as there's someone in the room, the light will stay on. And then when the door is closed and there's no one in there, it will turn the light off after a few seconds. So like there's no motion sensors. It's all this like the local person detection.
I will say like that's one of the cool features of the Real-In cameras too. Like now they've got the AI on board the cameras. You can have like a binary sensor exposed from your doorbell or from a camera, and it will go into Home Assistant and be like, yes, there is a person in this picture right now.
Yeah, the only problem I've got with the Reolink one, I've got the 8K one, picked it up a few months ago. It's in Frigate, but I don't think Frigate can handle the 8K streams. I have to downscale it. But I'm just being quite stingent, I think maybe is the word. I don't like using it on board. Like, my philosophy is like, I buy a camera for how the lens looks and how the camera looks, but I always I turn off all the features and feed it into Frigate. So then Frigate does all of the work. But I might have to start like using it to get the onboard Reolink stuff going, because, for example, Frigate can now do license plate recognition. And so there's a car in the drive and it has this license plate. And that'd be really cool, because it could say if I'm home, then it might do something. So yeah. But Reolink are works for Home Assistant partner. I remember Robert testing Robert tests all the doorbells, and he tested all like the Reolink stuff, and all the stuff that gets exposed into Home Assistant is incredible. Like, it's so good. The integration with Home Assistant, Reolink is like the go-to, I'd say, in my opinion, to get a camera. Usually, though, if I'm doing like a small camera, I only have one indoor camera now because we have a puppy. We always turn the camera off when there's people in the house, though.
Yeah.
But when we're not here, we use like the Wise ones, and then I flash it with custom firmware, because Wise had a security incident a few years ago or something.
Well, they locked out RTSP, and they did like a bunch.
They locked that out as well, yeah. But it's really easy to flash them. You can put Thingio on them, or Defang, I think, is another project. But I like them because they're quite reliable and they look quite good, especially in low light.
Do you worry about by using Frigate, like, as having that as a single point of failure, though? Like,
it does fail. Frigate it does something, because it looks like my cameras are unreliable, but then if I like watch the RTSP stream of the camera directly, it's stable as hell. But Frigate, I could be because I'm running it on like an old server or something, so I'm not going to say too much about it, because I think it is my server can't keep up. It's running like a maxed out, really old server in a VM. So I'm going to get one of those minis forums, MSO1, I think, soon, to run it on. So I see what you're saying. I need an NVR at the end of the day. So you need to store it somewhere. I'd be interested to hear like what alternatives there are. Do you guys record it on camera, or how?
Yeah, so I've got a few of the Reolink 4K cameras and the doorbell. And I think, except for the doorbell, I don't know if the doorbell, I can't remember if I put one in there, but the cameras have an SD card slot on device. So they just record events to the SD card. And then for 24/7 recording, actually, at the moment, I have a Unify gateway that has like the Unify Protect app running, and then it can record, just take the streams of the Reolink camera straight into the Protect app.
Yeah, because it can do third party now, I think, right?
You can do third party cameras via RTSP. And then you could get like a Reolink NVR, or I could pipe it into, like, I've got a Synology NAS that's got something called Surveillance Station. I could use my NAS storage for that. But I'm trying to shut down my NAS at night because it's, a power hog. So yeah, I realistically, like, do I need the 24/7 recording? Or probably not. Like, the events and the AI detection on the camera is pretty decent.
So do you think the events will pick up everything? Like, especially at nighttime, you can't really rely on events for, like, especially if it's like animal, person, or car detection, maybe, or person. But like, sometimes there's things that happen. Like, for example, something might happen at night that won't get picked up by an event, but you can definitely see a cat there or something, or you can definitely see something's going on. But like, an event won't pick it up because it's like almost noise. But I run 4 cameras in Frigate, 24/7 recording. I think I get like a week's worth on each.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I've certainly had like situations where I've seen like an animal on one camera, like that camera has been detected, and then it will go to a different camera's point of view, but the camera won't have detected the animal there. Like, I think I've had a fox walk through our yard, right, and it picked it up on one camera and then not on another camera. But the people detection has been great, and I've now got that hooked up.
Because you can actually do classification now, right?
Yeah. So the rear-link camera
Yeah.
does people, motion, and animal, and vehicle as well. So you can, if vehicle's moving across, or it comes in the driveway, you can have an event in Home Assistant. There's an entity exposed that vehicle detected goes true, and then you can trigger it like a snapshot from Home Assistant if you wanted to.
Yeah, I did have one, and this might be just because the Frigate models aren't quite tuned, but like I do have a lot of false positives. It does say like percentage of like person, but like a lot of false positives, like my dog's in the garden, but it's like, oh, it's a cat. It's like, well, it's not, because I want to have like if there's a dog in the garden, then keep the outside lights on because it's probably doing some business, But then like
So I've heard that the paid models apparently, again, I don't use Frigate, but I've heard that they have paid models, and those models are actually way more accurate, like with like a percentage of like margin of like way more.
I need to check out. I do pay for it. I've linked it up, but maybe I need to do something else to get them other models working. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So you use Frigate, you're doing a bunch of video surveillance, and you're actually using it to work with as a motion sensor, or as a smarter motion sensor or presence detector. Because
what I do, I have an NSPanel Pro here. And what it does, the front camera, if it sees a person or a car, it will send a command to the NSPanel Pro to wake up. And then my dashboard for this has the entity for the camera, and it will show like the last detected object on that. So basically, if the post person comes or there's an animal outside, but I think it's any object. If it detects any object in the classification in the model, like dog, cat, human, car, it will then turn this on, and before they even get out of their vehicle, like I know the postman is here or postwoman is here, and I can go and greet them at the door. Like it's like a doorbell, pretty much, without any. It just comes on. I look down, like, oh, it's the postman. I'm going to grab the door. Like it's super cool. That's my favorite thing. Of all in this house. It's like I'm working my desk, someone at the door, and no doorbell, no dog bark. It's like if you walk past my door, like past the road, within about half a second of you being there, I can already be on my way. Like it's instantaneous. It's pretty rapid. It's my favorite thing I have by far in this house, apart from like accent lighting and stuff. But
how are you triggering the NSPanel to do that? Like, is it just through Home Assistant that you're just saying, hey, wake up?
This is Android, so there's an app that someone made that you can install, which is like the NSPanel hacks, and it basically exposes a bunch of sensors over MQTT. And basically in Home Assistant, I can say like, wake the screen. I can, and the reason why it's on my desk and not the wall is because I don't like the performance of this NSPanel Pro. It's not good enough to like use. If I want to go up there and do it will hang on something and it will freeze. So I'm saving myself a conversation with the wife to say, why is this not going right? So I'm waiting for another touch Android-based display so I can use native Home Assistant, for it has more memory and stuff. But so Frigate is hooked up to Home Assistant. When it detects an object, Home Assistant has the sensor. When the sensor changes, it wakes this up, and then by the time it's woken up, Home Assistant's already shown the card for like the last detected entity or object in that camera.
Nice.
It's really cool. It saves like having a doorbell and the dogs react to the doorbell, or someone knocks on the door. I can open the door before they get to it, so there's no knocking. Like it's nice. I used to have it as a notification on my phone, but then at night time you get loads of false positives, and you just get like, my phone used to go crazy. But no, having this in front of me, it's nice. Definitely do more things with this around the house, I think.
What sort of ideas have you got to do it around the house?
I do want to have like more. I mean, I spend most of my time here, but like you can do on Android TVs, you can like send like the little card in the bottom right almost like a picture in picture,
Yeah.
but you can send like a little notification, and maybe that might be quite cool to say there's someone there. Thing is though, like I need to make it so it's like rate limited, because it will do it like it's a person and then it's moved. It will send every time that the update happens.
Yeah.
So it might spam. So maybe, but like things like that. So if my wife's watching the TV, she can see there's someone coming up. I want this installed. So like if you're waiting for like a takeout, like a Chinese takeaway to come, we can like put the camera on this, then just like look at this instead of like peering through the curtains. Like it looks a bit weird sometimes, or like looking upstairs through the top window. Like, yeah. So things like that. I just want to make the whole experience of living in a house more convenient for everyone subtly. That's the whole goal. That's the premise of running a smart home. Like subtly make it like we have a tiny pantry downstairs, and I put like instantly like my own shelving for it, then put LED strips underneath the shelving, put like a Zigbee contact sensor, open the door, lights come on, done. Like when it's not working, you get complaints like, why isn't this working? I was like, well, you didn't really realize I installed it, but now it's not there. Like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And we have like lights along the stairs. Like you can't see them, but they come on if there's motion on the landing or below the stairs. It will turn the stair lights on. So it's like if you're getting up to go to the toilet, or if you're going to go downstairs and it's dark, like you always have like a thing. But because how the lights are, you can segment the LEDs, so you can make each step a different color. So sometimes you can like do a Christmas theme, or you can do like rainbow or something. We had a power cut recently, and defaults on rainbow, so each step is like red, green, yellow, blue. So it's like some sort of musical staircase, I guess. I don't know.
That's awesome.
And I've got some under the kitchen counter units to go around, but I broke those. I need to fix them. I think I accidentally snapped off one of the copper contacts on the LED strip, and
Whoops,
they're so fragile. Yeah. Anyway, that's a future me problem.
Future Darren problem. I like that. So what technology stack are you running around the house? Like you said that you, when you first started, it was making the house more complicated. Have you tried to consolidate some technology to make it better? Have you improved the user experience around the house?
User experience, yes. Like, we don't use like Rohan was saying before, like he uses a button to like turn his podcast setup on. I do have a button, and that will like turn off my key lights and stuff. But like I can double press it to turn off the ones behind me. But now I have the mmWave one. That's like if I'm in the room, these lights are on, because these aren't usually key lights. The key lights are usually accent lights for the room, to kind of help eye strain on monitors and stuff at nighttime. But in my house, I want a smart lock. And in the UK, when you close all doors in the UK, and most of the doors in the UK, you have to lift the handle up to engage the locks in the door, and then you can turn the key. So you have to do that. You can't turn the key before you lift the handle up. It's not like you close the door and you do that, because it also tightens the door against the seal, and then it engages I can't remember what you call it, like the locks along all the side of the door, and then also the lock that goes across for the key. So one of the only ones you can get was a Yale Connectors L1, and so you can, as soon as you lift the handle up, the lock rotates with the motor. That was Z-Wave. You can get a Z-Wave module for that. And I remember, like, this is before I knew how to use Zigbee and Z-Wave. My office was like on one side of the house, and the lock was on the other side of the house. I was like, oh, I could just pair it with this stick, plug the stick directly into my server, no extension cable, nothing. I expected it to be all hunky-dory, and I was like, this sucks. And it was horrible. And I remember we went out for a journey one day, and I was like, the lock's reporting the door is unlocked. Did we lift the handle up? And we was like,
yeah.
We went, it was like, oh. So we drove half an hour back. Door was obviously locked. It's just misreporting the state because did that, it just didn't, And then at the time, this was in like 2018, 19, like I found it really hard to find a lot of information about how to do Zigbee correctly. And I heard like, what are these things called routers and stuff? And people don't understand, like, okay, if you're connecting a Zigbee coordinator, like your stick, connect it to your Home Assistant instance or whatever you're using with an extension cable, then have like a light in each room, even if you're not using it. Keep it on and use it as a Zigbee router so it can navigate its way back around the house. That's information I didn't have. And so I dropped Z-Wave. I didn't have a smart lock in this house because it was a bit inconvenient, especially if going on holiday, had to tell parents, in-laws how to use the lock, give them a tutorial. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't that convenient, to be honest. There are other locks now. People in the UK where I work, they use like Nuki ones and another couple of other ones. I don't know how they're using it because I have to lift my handle up. Maybe they have it in conjunction with that. I'm not too sure. I dropped that. So my stack now is Zigbee and Wi-Fi. So I run Ubiquiti, 2 APs and the router downstairs, the Dream Machine, non-pro, like the Dream Machine pill-shaped one. And then I use Zigbee. That's pretty much all I use. The only problem I have with Zigbee is like I have an IKEA blind that runs Zigbee, which seemed to be discontinued as soon as I bought it. But it's quite unreliable, and you need to have it really close to it or use their like repeater. Currently, it doesn't work. I have to press the button on it. It's quite annoying. But when it works,
it's the worst when you have to press the button on things. Like you have to get off your chair,
and it's all the way up top.
Yeah, and like when it works, it opens up at like 7:30 in the morning, and it closes at sunset, and it's really reliable until it stops working. And I have to spend a good few days, like not whole full days, but I mean like I'll pair it, then it pairs, and I put it back in the automation, and it just doesn't work. I'm like, why? And I always forget the sequence to reset it, and I have to Google it. So I'm going to switch to like maybe third reality blinds now. We've seen Jerry on a few occasions, and he's always got his blind in his backpack, and he's like demonstrating it.
Yeah.
And he's like, we saw him in Berlin for IFA, and it was like, Miranda's like, oh, Darren, it's Jerry. I'm like, cool. And he's like, Miranda's like, go get your backpack. I'm like, he just came with the backpack, folded out his legs, blind, pushed his button back. Oh, wow, okay, cool. I mean, that's a blind, but like, it works.
He did the same thing. He did the same thing to us at CES this year, where he's like, hey guys, like, you want to see my blinds? And then like literally like pulls it out of his backpack, and I was like, what is happening right
now? Yeah. I remember seeing that. He had it on he was on a live stream or something, wasn't he?
I believe it was on his live stream. Yeah, one of the releases.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that was on the one I was on. Jerry was definitely on the same one I was on, I think. Can't remember. It was early this year. But yeah, that's the stack I use, Zigbee and Wi-Fi. Z-Wave is more of a US market anyway. Zigbee is more of a European market. I don't really have any plans to change it. I've got no performance problem with any devices that run Wi-Fi like my ESP devices I have around the house. Like I have the Apollo, not the Apollo. I have the Apollo R2, I think it is, but I use the Everything Smart Home Everything Presence 1. Yeah. And that's just reliable as hell. And really, really fast. But the one I like about the Apollo one actually is that if you have it on, it tells you if the target is currently found, if it's moving towards you or moving away from you, or if it's stationary. Which, like, that's just a calculation. That's just I'm sure Lewis could get that working his, but that's just the calculation, like working if the object's currently moving closer or further away. Like you can add that to any of them, but like, don't know when I'd use it, but it was cool. It was there.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of automations around like, hey, depending on if I'm walking this way, then turn on the lights that are ahead of me, or if I'm walking the other way,
that's a really cool idea, actually.
Or turn off the lights behind it, whatever that looks like, right? Like if I'm moving away, you can kind of do that like sequential light, like
definitely if you have like address LEDs, that would be pretty cool.
Address or just even like on like in like a hallway or something like that, right? Like if you have more than one light, you can just say, okay, turn on the first light, then the second light, then the third light, and then turn off the first light and the second light. So you can kind of do that, like follow. I don't know what you want to call that, but something like that, right? So there's a couple of cool use cases that you could totally use that with.
I'm trying to find a reason to like put this above a ceiling and have it like in the middle of the room and like create zones in the room. I'm trying to find like a reason to do it, but I've not found a reason yet. But I might try because I've got the cable running down the side on my pegboard, but I was kind of thinking because it can go through walls. Because if I so this room to my left is like the ensuite shower for the bedroom, and that room behind me is like the wardrobe area. If I'm in that room or that room, these lights will be on. Like if you walk far enough in, you're in the zone. I just need to shorten the zone, but like this could definitely just sit above the ceiling
because it does penetrate through walls and stuff.
Yeah, because it's just plasterboard, like So
drywall,
drywall.
I've had the exact same like issue, right? Like I even have a random 2-year Zigbee mmWave sensor, and it can somehow go through the brick of my house. Like it's in the garage, goes through the brick of my house into our dining room, and I can then, for whatever the brick has enough of a buffer, like adds enough of a buffer, I can just have that detect when we're sitting at our dining room table.
Cool.
So it's sort of outside into our house, through the brick wall, and then okay, that's where our dining room is. Like that's where our dining table is. That can be, are we sitting at the dining table or not?
That's funny.
That's pretty impressive.
Everything else won't go through the brick.
Like I can probably detect when I'm taking a shower just from this room, like, or if I'm just in there, like I can create a zone for it because it's in the vicinity of it. So like, I don't know. Again, it's weird to think you've got a sensor in one room to detect if I'm having a shower in a completely different room. Like, it's weird to say, like, I put a sensor in this room to detect if we're having a shower. Like, it kind of ruins your thinking pattern about how that could work a bit because it's in a completely different room.
But it's also cool, right? Because one of the things that I have always condoned is putting sensors in bathrooms, and that's because of like just there's some level of uneasiness that people have of like, hey,
even if it hasn't got a camera, if you like, even if it's like like an IR sensor, like
exactly motion sensor or something like that, right? It's like in your head, that's a motion sensor, like a PIR, but
what if it's
you've heard the stories about Airbnbs and stuff, like
So I'd rather have it subtly outside, and then do it that way, right? And it's like at that point, at least that's nice, and it's not invasive at all, and that kind of thing. And it's like I can still, presence-wise, I can still turn on the lights or fan or whatever when someone's in the washroom, and then they leave.
If they made more powerful versions of these, that like you could almost map out your floor plan with one of them. You could create like who's in this room, how many people in this room, like automations. So I can do 3 rooms just from one sensor. I could do, if I put lights in that bathroom, I can control it with this thing, and it's like it's wild to think that you have one sensor which can report state in 3 rooms. I haven't really thought about it until now, to be honest.
Yeah, and it works really well, like in an open plan.
I bet
setup, right? Like
like Reed from smart. I can't remember his name, but like he has a really open plan kitchen, dining, and living room.
Like smart.
I can imagine that. Smart home solver. Yeah, thank you. I can imagine that works really well.
Yeah.
You mentioned before, Darren, that you can never remember the sequence of pairing up the IKEA blind. I have a little hack that I use. I have a similar issue with my blinds, which are Semi-Smart, I believe is the brand. So I put the instruction manual into Google LM, and then whenever I need to find out what key secret combination I need to press, I just ask the LM, what is the combination to pair it with Zigbee, right?
You could take it one step further to say, like, if the blind becomes unavailable, it sends you like, by the way, your blind screwed up. Here's what you need to do.
Yeah, well, absolutely right.
I think Reed did a video recently. Like, he has a light. I think it was a Govee light, one that stands up or something like that. And he's like, sometimes for some reason it just goes unavailable. So he puts a smart switch on it, and if it becomes unavailable, the smart switch turns off and on, which restarts the light. And I'm like, that's a really hacky but very clever solution.
Yeah, it makes sense, but it's like you know what it is? It's like I really, really, really want to like Govee. I really do, but it's like it is so unreliable for certain things, right? And it's like
I have the same problem with Elgato sometimes. Like, even though I've got an access point under my feet, these lights are sometimes just like I can see on the Unify they're connected to that access point. Like, what? And I keep thinking like I'm going to take them apart and like put an ESPHome on it, but
awesome.
I can't be asked because, yeah.
I had to return my Elgato lights just because I could use it through Home Assistant, ironically, but not through their own app.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. But like the Govee lights, I've got Govee lights behind, kind of, if you can, those of you watching on YouTube, you can, behind the leaves there. But it's and I've got one beside me here too, one of those stand-up stick ones, and they're currently not on because I couldn't tell you why. But they probably need a kick, and whatever, right? And it's like, and there's a bunch of hacks repos for Govee and stuff like that, and they're all pretty decent, but they're all like, I don't know, they're not it's not the repo, it's not, or it's not the applications, it's the actual product, I think, right? And yeah.
Yeah, I have so many, like, for example, even ESPHome devices are pretty they're pretty stable. Obviously, you have to make, well, they are just pretty stable. Like even the Everything Presence one, that's, if you've seen how much data that sends, like it sends so much data, and it's reliable. Like, but an on-off light can't be reliable. Like,
Yeah.
it must be, Elgato must be doing something there to like first negotiate with something before it becomes I don't know. They work now, but I'm telling you, I'm going to get a knife to them and make them ESPHome at some point.
That would be awesome. Like, hey, drop this in, like put it in here, and then bam, have smart Elgato.
I think my ultimate plan is to put an ESP32 in every room and vehicle to do something. Like, when I got that car, I wanted to like make an OLED clock for the car that also reported like the RPM, speed, everything you don't have on the dash. So I started tinkering with the ESPHome. I got it working, but like I have like this mess of a project board of like all the bits, and it works. I can plug this in, and this little display shows me the RPMs of the car from the OBD port. Like, I love ESPHome. It's been great, and I know Keith and Jesse will love me saying that, but like ESPHome is fantastic for like lowering that barrier for entry. Like,
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's not as scary as you think.
No.
Plant sensors and like light strip, and like if you don't want to mess around with WLED, ESPHome, like so many people do it out there, you could easily copy and paste someone's thing and just hook them up. But yeah,
just peruse GitHub. It's
yeah,
it's great.
Well, Darren, thank you so much for talking to us today. It's always cool. So anytime you look at a Home and Home Foundation website or the Home Assistant website, you can thank Darren. He's one of the many NABU Casa Open Home Foundation people plugging away behind the scenes. It was great to finally meet you, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.